The crystalline chambers of the Galactic Council hummed with barely contained disdain as Ambassador Sarah Chun stood before the assembled delegates. 47 species, each representing millennia of civilization, gazed down at the lone human with expressions ranging from disgust to pity. "The decision is final," announced Praetor Vexto, his serpentine form coiled around the central podium. Humanity's aggressive expansion, their reckless terraforming, and their disturbing tendency toward violence makes them incompatible with civilized galactic society. Sarah kept her voice steady, despite the tremor of rage building in her chest. "We've contributed more to galactic science in 50 years than most species manage in centuries. Our medical advances alone have disrupted the natural order," interrupted Counselor Jurda, her insectoid mandibles clicking with irritation. "Your species breeds like parasites and spreads across systems with no regard for established territorial boundaries." The Velkari delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering field, pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as contempt. "Most disturbing is your species' refusal to accept proper hierarchy. You treat your artificial intelligences as equals. You democratize technology that should remain controlled. And you actually arm your civilian populations." Sarah smiled then, and something in that expression made several delegates shift uncomfortably. "Is that all?" "Effective immediately," Praetor Vexto continued. "All human colonies outside the Sol system must be abandoned. Earth's trade privileges are revoked, and any human vessel found beyond your home system's boundaries will be considered an act of war." "War," Sarah repeated softly. "You know, Praetor, that's exactly the problem. You've spent so long at peace that you've forgotten what humans never do. We don't abandon our own." The council chambers fell silent as Sarah turned and walked away, her boots echoing against the crystal floor. Behind her, 47 species congratulated themselves on removing the barbarian threat from their enlightened civilization. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. 10 years later, Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the massive construction yards of Kepler Station through the reinforced viewport. Where once had been empty space beyond the edge of the Sol system, now sprawled the largest military-industrial complex the galaxy had ever seen. "Status report," he commanded. 7th Fleet reports ready for deployment, sir," came the crisp response from his aide. "That's 1,200 vessels, including 47 dreadnoughts of the new Titan class." Torres nodded grimly. The Titan-class ships were humanity's answer to exile, each one capable of taking on an entire Council fleet. But they were just the beginning. When the Council had severed all trade relationships, humanity had been forced to become entirely self-sufficient. The challenge had awakened something primal in the human spirit. Within 2 years, human engineering had surpassed galactic standards. Within 5, they had revolutionized faster-than-light travel. Within 8, they had cracked the code of artificial gravity manipulation that had eluded Council scientists for millennia. But humanity's greatest advantage wasn't technological, it was philosophical. "Sir," his communications officer called. "Out. We're receiving transmissions from the Outer Rim. The Zefkari are ready to join the Alliance." Torres allowed himself a rare smile. The Zefkari were the 4th species in 3 months to break away from Council authority and seek humanity's protection. It turned out that 47 civilizations ruling over hundreds of others had created quite a few dissatisfied subjects. Unlike the Council, humanity didn't demand submission from their allies. They offered partnership, shared technology freely, and most shocking of all to galactic society, they kept their word. When the Torvac had been facing genocide from Council-backed corporate interests, human fleets had arrived within days. When the crystalline Shalinari had been strip-mined to near extinction, human colony ships had offered them new worlds and asked for nothing in return. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting Council fleet movements. It looks like they're finally mobilizing." "How many?" "Conservative estimate? 3,000 ships, sir. They're calling it the Pacification Armada." Torres turned to address his bridge crew, men and women who had volunteered to defend not just humanity, but the ideals humanity represented. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems our former friends have decided that watching us build an empire of willing allies is too threatening to ignore. The bridge hummed with activity as officers relayed orders throughout the human colonial defense network. It wasn't just Earth's fleets that would meet the Council, it was an alliance of 23 species united not by fear or subjugation, but by a shared belief that civilization should be built on cooperation, not hierarchy. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. President Martinez wants to speak with you." The holographic image of Earth's leader materialized before Torres, her expression grim but determined. "Admiral, the Council is demanding our immediate surrender and the dissolution of all alliance treaties." "And our response, Madam President?" Maria Martinez smiled, and in that smile was the echo of every human who had ever been told they couldn't achieve something impossible. "Tell them that if they wanted to avoid a war, they shouldn't have exiled the one species in the galaxy that never learned how to quit." As the Indomitable turned toward the approaching Council fleet, Torres reflected on the irony. The Council had exiled humanity to protect their civilization from human aggression. Instead, they had given humanity the motivation to build something far more dangerous than a single species' ambition. They had created a galactic revolution. The humans weren't coming to conquer the Council's empire. They were coming to free it. And that, Torres knew, was something the Council could never understand until it was too late. After all, humans had learned something during their brief time in galactic society. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't superior technology or overwhelming numbers. Sometimes it's simply refusing to accept that something is impossible.